Yo,
what it is, guys? What's up? Welcome back to the channel. I just got my hands on some top tier eBay coilovers. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this a top tier coilover? Well, when you hear of Maxpeedingrods, first thing that comes to mind is eBay coilovers, right? Well, if you didn't know, Maxpeedingrods has 4 tiers of coilovers. Back in 2006, they started off with their super budget-friendly coilovers, the SNA series and the SLC series. The SNA only allowed you to adjust the coilover height, and the SLC allowed you to adjust the dampening. I recently did a review on their SP1 coilovers, which is a street performance coilover, and now I have these, which is the SP2 coilovers. They're also street performance, but they're also designed for junior track use as well. The SP2 coilover is very similar to the SP1. The main differences is it has a higher spring rate for the front and rear coilovers. These are 11K and 7K. And just like the SP1 series, you get the damper adjustment knob. It's very easy to make adjustments. It looks a lot better. You get the full length dust boot right here. The SNA and SLC have the half size dust boot. You get a heavy duty lower post mount. The welds on this look very nice, thick and consistent, and there's only 2 welds. The rear doesn't have any welds at all. It's a very clean look. But as of now, the T7 coilovers are only available for the 5th and 6th gen Honda Civic, the CRX, Del Sols, and they also have a couple sets for BMWs, the E36 and E46. Hopefully they get some for the Prelude really soon. Now, if you follow my car content, you might be thinking, wait, Rocky doesn't have any of those cars? You're right, but I do have a friend who has a 92 Honda Civic EG, and these will fit perfectly. But before we head out, let's check out everything we get inside the Maxpeedingrods coilovers. First up, we get a pair of adjustment tools for the coilovers. Very nice finished, and they feel heavy duty. A couple of Allen keys, the small ones to take off that damper adjustment knob on top. And the bigger one is so you can put it in the damper slot to make your adjustment, just in case you don't want to do it by hand. We get some documentation. This is definitely a step up from their first coilovers because there was no documentation and you had to figure out everything on your own. A Maxpeedingrods emblem, a couple of collars and 4 washers. You're gonna need these collars on specific chassis. The collar's gonna go on the rear coilover. We get a couple of brackets for your brake lines, and these are gonna go on the front coilovers. All right, and here we go. This is the front coilover. It's got a super thick 11K spring. Up top, we get a pillow ball joint, no camber adjustment, but you do get a damper adjustment, 24-way. And here's the rear coilover. The springs are a little thinner. These are 7K spring rate, and you can see at the top, it's a rubber top hat. You can see all the rubber right here. Again, no camber adjustment, but you do get a 24-way dampening. Now, I've already installed the SLC and SP1 coilovers on my Honda Civic, and from my experience, I want to give you guys a bro tip. I guarantee you, if you install these coilovers right out the box, as is, you're gonna have a lot of issues. So follow these steps and these are gonna ride perfectly fine. First thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure that this nut up here is tightened all the way down. This is the 18 mil, and we're just gonna tighten it all the way down. See, it's pretty loose. This was the issue I had with the SP1s. I didn't bother to tighten these. And so when I took it for a test drive, it was really loud and clunky. Look how loose that is. Wow. I just realized that the damper shaft was spinning with the nut. So you gotta hold this damper shaft with the 8 mil. There you go, nice and snug. Ugh. All right, so the top nut is tightened on all 4 coilovers, but there's one more step before we go with the install. The next step is to set the preload of the spring. Some people will say that the preload isn't too important, but I just like to have a nice and consistent preload on all 4 coilovers. If you look closely, there's 2 rings. This top one is the preload ring, and the one under it is the locking ring, which is gonna lock it in place. So you can see it's already loose. You'll wanna tighten this bottom one so that the coilover doesn't spin. Boom. Now we can loosen this preload spring. All right, so with all this slack right here, you're gonna wanna tighten this by hand. Just a tiny bit snug, right? So this doesn't move. And the recommended preload on these coilovers are 7 to 10 millimeters. So that means you're just gonna tighten this top ring up another 10 millimeters. I'll calculate that by using these 2 adjustment tools right here. If you measure it, you can see that it's about 9.5 millimeters. Back over here, I'm gonna bring up this locking ring until it sits right there. Now, while holding this locking ring in place, I'm gonna tighten this top ring until it's 10 millimeters or 9.5. And see how it's creating a gap? I'm just gonna keep doing this until I can put both of these locking rings in this little slit. And look at that. Both of the tools go in there pretty nicely. Then you just spin this all the way up. And once you lock these two rings, your preload is set. When you're locking this, try not to spin that top ring. Just try to turn the bottom one. There we go. And in case you were wondering how you adjust the height, you loosen this bottom one. All you do is hold the locking ring up here and you spin this one to the right. Oof. And now see, this is loose. And you can adjust your height like this. But let's say this coilover is already installed and you don't want to take it out just to adjust the height. That's gonna be a lot of work, right? Doing all four. Well, with the top mounted and the bottom mounted in place, once this is loose right here, you can get your tool and just spin this middle ring and it's gonna adjust your height. Yo, what's up, bro?
What up? What it do?
So this is Nami. He just picked up a EG, and yo, bro, I got something for you.
What you got?
Go to the trunk right now. There you go.
What's this?
It's for you, bro.
What is it?
The Maxpeedingrods beer. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Bro, this is heavy.
Some coilovers, man. You riding too high right now.
Hey, okay.